Page 143.
Good God! Marty gasped. It's Mr. Strickland. It was true. Hill Valley High's avenging angel, still wearing a bow tie, was there in the form of Gerald Strickland.
Oh my God, yes. Now he is an avenging angel. I don't even know how that makes sense, but I don't care. Mr. Strickland avenges those who have been wronged by slackers. And he's an angel because, damn girl, with lips like that you must have fallen from heaven.
He looked younger, a bit tauter, but basically the same.
Nice. Our taut avenging angel is back, baby. Back to the Future, that is. Because that is the book we are reading, that is.
McFly. Shape up, man! Strickland shouted. George regarded him like a prisoner about to be sentenced. You're a slacker. Strickland charged.
And one of the advantages of books over movies is that we get to imagine the action, and I choose to read charged in the bull running towards someone sense, which means I get to imagine Mr. Strickland yelling "You're a slacker" as he rushes towards George McFly, students falling like so many bowling pins around him, and I invite you to join me because it's great. The rest of Strickland's dialogue is way crappy.
Your head must be off on Mars or something. Wake up and join the human race.
But it doesn't matter because after that our taut avenging angel
thrusts the kick me sign into George's hands and stalks down the corridor toward his office.
Amazing. It's like George Gipe loves Mr. Strickland as much as I do, because that scene was awesome. Doc asks if George is really his father. Marty says yes. Doc says it
looks like a match made in heaven.
Which is pretty good because it foreshadows George is a match made in Spacebook, and Marty gets told to go make introductions between George and Lorraine, so off he goes to talk to George.
You remember me, don't you? Saturday when you fell out the tree. I probably saved your life.
Pages 144 to 145. I don't have a picture of this scene, but I do have this picture of Lorraine, so here we go with more Lorraine on a car. So Marty goes over to talk to George, and since he's a jerk he asks George if his binoculars were damaged in the fall, you know, when he was being a peeping Tom. George blushes and says no, and Marty's satisfied with his own jerkitude for now, so he's all
okay. Look, I want you to meet someone.
And drags George off to Lorraine. And then Lorraine takes a second to recognize Marty because his clothes have changed, but then nearly shouts,
Galvin. Marty.
Which is weird because here in Bookland she knows Calvin Klein is the name of the underwear manufacturer, but oh well, Gipe, whatever. And then Old Manitis reaches a new level as Gipe begins speaking like a knight from history times.
So delighted was she to see him, she dropped her books.
Marty goes to pick them up and guess what? Doc is here. He's been following them around even though nobody mentioned it until now, not even the narrator. Because you know a book is good when characters magically appear in scenes. But I digress. Lorraine drops her books, and as Marty goes to pick up the books, Doc grabs him by the elbow and says,
Let him do it, jerk.
And haha, wow. Things are definitely not rosy between Doc and Marty. I don't even get the impression they like each other. Marty freezes bent over and George freezes standing up, and Doc is there too for some reason, and eventually Marty picks up the books for Lorraine, whose
eyes shone with gratitude and infatuation.
Marty introduces George to her, and Lorraine
bequeaths barely a flicker of recognition at her future husband.
Yes. Gipe is bringing out his A-game here, what with flickers of recognition being bequeathed, and keep reading because it gets even better. Doc then tells Marty to tell Lorraine how great George is. Marty asks how, Doc says fake it. Again, nobody finds it weird that Marty and Doc are having this conversation out loud while standing right in front of everyone. And
bringing about a meaningful introduction being the purpose of his visit, Marty sallied forth.
Nice. Unusual sentence structure, and Gipe busting out sallied forth. Be still my beating heart. So Marty tells Lorraine that George is terrific and a good athlete, and George interrupts to say no, which is a nice character moment that wouldn't feel out of place in the movie. Marty says George has a great sense of humor. George again interrupts to say no, and guys, I really think this works. This is a joke in the book that works. I am actually kinda freaking out. Anyway, the plan doesn't work.
Marty might as well have been speaking to Lorraine in Sanskrit or Choctaw. Her eyes never moved during the entire eulogy.
Marty is eulogizing, which is awesome because eulogy does correctly mean a speech praising someone, but now in modern times, what with our computers and cell phones and whatnot, we basically only use it when someone has died. So is Old Man Itis actually paying off in the writing here? I think so. Lorraine responds.
Marty, she said, her voice dripping with sincerity. I was so worried about you running off like that the other night with that bruise on your head.
Lorraine, her voice dripping. Marty responds to this by lecturing Lorraine for no reason, all about how he lets things get well by themselves because then
your body builds up certain types of immunities,
such as a calloused bruise-resistant forehead. Why are we talking about this? And Doc tells Marty to never mind with all this because George McFly is gone. In summary and in conclusion, I feel like this was maybe the single most representative page of this book so far. Crazy writing, characters acting really weird and talking about things for no reason, and also we all got to learn about the Choctaw language. Yay.